How you doing, investors? How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Let me come onto the stage. Let me come onto the stage. Let's see here. Let's see. Let me make sure I got all this right. I got this right. Okay. All right, investors. Welcome back to Tony Talks, Vested Up Compelling Sports Edge. And as you know, I'm on travel this week, but hey, I'm here. Karmelo Anthony defense case. We're back here for day 78. I want to know, and I'm pretty sure you want to know why. Why? Allegedly, and I gotta say allegedly, some workers at Texas Roadhouse, Logan Roadhouse, they sent this warning to the Black community, and of course, it is very, very disturbing. I think it came out either Saturday night or Sunday morning, and it's catching legs right now. A lot of people is talking about that alleged group chat that came out of Facebook. Even Texas Roadhouse has responded. I don't think Logan Roadhouse has responded, but I don't know. But guess what? I'm definitely going to bring to the stage tonight a very, very source that we all familiar with for entertainment purposes and educational purposes only. For entertainment purposes and educational purposes only. But let me go and finish taking care of this algorithm. Now, I do have to bring this up. When Wille and all the other content creators was reading this alleged group chat from a handle name, I have to say a handle name from Nancy Smith and Nicole Smith, whoever did that, even though you think that you deleted it, if Texas Roadhouse and Logan Roadhouse definitely wants to protect their investment and their reputation, I'm pretty sure they have enough funds for a higher agency to research that handle. Nancy Smith, Nicole Smith, whoever you are, trust me, even though you deleted that post, if you have heard this business, and if it turns out not to be true, and if you have heard this business, which, hey, we're not really gonna, it don't matter if it's true or not, just the thought of it. I would never spend a dime back in Texas Roadhouse, a Logan Roadhouse, until you say that you have locked up the person and that you have enhanced the monitoring in those kitchens. And that go for all of them. If I look inside and if I do my visual assessment, forget the drive through no more. Now, if I go in there and do this right here, and if I don't see enough of people that I think I can trust, that look a little bit more like me, you ain't getting my business. The way, and I'm not even gonna put that description up, because knowing that I travel a lot and I have to rely on these restaurants, I would go to the corner store. I would go to Walmart. I would rely on microwave dinners like I did when I was a kid and mama had to work and she didn't come home till 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock at night. I would go back to relying on dinners or just getting vegetables. And listen, I'll be they ain't getting my money no more. So Texas Roadhouse, Logan Roadhouse, I don't know what you have done spiritually for this karma to come back on you. If it's not true, I'm still not trusting it. And until you, Logan and Texas Roadhouse, and I'm pretty sure all these other big chain restaurants, you may want to take order or go ahead and get ahead of this. Go ahead and increase all the monitors in the kitchen, all the cameras in the kitchen, have walking around, do something, because your business. Did you see what we did to Target? Did you see what we almost did to Walmart? Who else did we bring down to their knees? I don't even shop in Target, so that really didn't impact me anyway. But they know the spending power. So I'm hearing that the stock for Texas and Logan Roadhouse is on the slippery slope down. So they better get ahead of this. But hey, guess what? You can keep it. just mentally. I can't even get past it mentally. I'm sorry. Texas, Roadhouse, and Logan. Some of the best places I love to go. Never no more. Never again. Not today. Not never. Not that. Oh, not that. So anyway, let me go and take care of the aggravator. Karmelo Anthony defense case. Phase 2, day 78. Karmelo Anthony. They put Karmelo Anthony name in the group post chat. Karmelo Anthony. So I got something for you tonight. Karmelo Anthony triggered them. For whatever reason, I don't know. Texas Roadhouse and Logan Roadhouse. Today we're examining a complete different layer of the conversation surrounding the case. Public reaction, corporate responses, social media pressure, and controversy involving Texas Roadhouse and Logans. What happened when a highly publicized criminal case moved beyond the courtroom and began influencing conversations involving businesses, customers, online communities, boycotts, and public statements and corporate decisions making? I think the only people that would probably still be patronizing these two places here if they didn't know about the post that went out. And believe it or not, I was having a conversation with one of my parents before I left yesterday. And I told them about this and that, and like this and that. And the way that they looked up at me, they was like, what? I said, yes. I said, so just beware. So y'all, a lot of people have not received or know about this text, this post comment regarding these two particular chains. I'm saying be wary of all of them because we know the client that we're living in. And they said that racism died with their ancestors. Well, why are you using the same tactics that your ancestors used back in the 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, even the 1900s, even now? Why does society in America mirror what my ancestors went through 400 plus years ago if racism died? But we already know. Listen, when President Obama got elected, something must have triggered them. And ever since then, they've been, how can I say it, showing their ass. But so now I want to know why they're triggered. But before we go into that, because tonight, hey, based off the conversation and the engagement, I definitely want to invite ChatGPT up to the stage. But before I do that, let me go ahead and show you this. And thank you I received an email within seconds after adding funds to his account. Okay, she may not have checked her email again, but if she sent it to me tomorrow, I'll bring it tomorrow, okay? Let me go ahead and close this right here. So he does have funds on his account. I sent him some funds. Yep, we're not giving up on Karmelo. We're not giving up. Ooh, the comments are coming in from other videos. Let's see. Let me close all this out. Yes, you do. You get an email confirmation, and then also in your transaction summary, it shows up there also. It'll show up like this. And of course, I remove the date. I don't need nobody calling down there who added funds at this certain time here, because I'm trying to tell you, let them try to dig me up. You'll be surprised, and a reference them in a total. And then it also sends something to your phone or whatever email address you created the account with. You definitely will. Oh, there you go. You're the one that asked for Karmelo Anthony how to add funds to his account. So there you go. You donated Friday. Gotcha. Yes. Gotcha. We should all support. His parents have other kids. I'm sure this would definitely help. Yes. I love seeing Lakeisha and the Not Guilty Boys giving positive insight and reinforcing how strategic. Yeah, of course, the nastiness of it all. Yes. His new attorneys, all this is awesome, and it shows the power of God. Come on with it. Free Karmelo Anthony into it. Come on with it. Come on. There you go. There you go. You welcome. You welcome. You welcome. Hey, how y'all doing, Lord Footage? How you doing? Yes. Okay, because can someone else confirm you hear it? Okay. All right, Chat GBT, we're on the way. We're on the way. All right. So I have already informed my audience that I have primed our discussion with two questions. Can you please repeat the questions that I gave you before my live, please?
Sure. First, why would members of the historically dominant white community become upset with members of the black community for supporting Karmelo Anthony? And hypothetically, what could cause that anger to turn into retaliation? Second, what would make members of one racial group feel threatened or angered by another group supporting someone from their own community, even when the first group has been the dominant one?
Perfect. All right. So, Chat GPT, I told you to hold on. So, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So, let's address the first question. Repeat the first question and please provide my audience with your response.
First question, why would members of the historically dominant white community become upset with members of the black community for supporting Karmelo Anthony? And hypothetically, what could cause that anger to turn into retaliation? So, speaking generally, sometimes when a marginalized community shows strong solidarity, some people in the dominant group can perceive that as a threat to status or narrative control. That perception can produce backlash or resentment. That's a description of a possible social dynamic, not a claim about any specific group or justification for harm.
Okay. And please repeat the second question and give your response to my question.
Second question, what would make members of one racial group feel threatened or angered by another group supporting someone from their own community when the first group has been dominant? One possible explanation people discuss is status threat or zero-sum thinking, where gains by one group are misread as losses by another. That can trigger defensive reactions, but that's a general framework, not a verdict on people, and certainly not an excuse for harm.
Okay, Jad PT. So let's continue this conversation. So you spoke about the dominant group feeling threatened about, I'm going to say hypothetically, the black community exerting power and showing collective power. Why would the dominant group, aka white community, feel threatened by the black community showing power after 400 plus years of being oppressed?
Yes, and one careful note for your audience, we're talking about broad social patterns,
Yes.
not saying every individual reacts the same. Historically, when a group has held disproportionate power, even movements toward equality can be misread as loss. Some people experience that as a status threat, zero-sum thinking. But it's crucial. Black collective power doesn't take anyone's rights away.
Mhm.
Equality isn't a loss. And coming back to the specific case, we shouldn't assume that alleged retaliation is either widespread or racially motivated without evidence.
Of course, I totally agree. Totally agree. This is just a discussion for educational purposes only. Okay.
Understood. Framed that way, we're exploring concepts, not judging people. Happy
Correct.
to keep it focused and careful.
Correct. So, what is the so let me ask this question. Besides pushing back on the narrative that the dominant community want us to accept, what other ways or what other tactics would put fear in the dominant class?
Huh. So, staying with your educational frame, I'd rephrase this a bit. Not tactics to scare anyone, but forms of collective empowerment that can sometimes provoke a status threat response. Historically, that can include things like voting, economic coordination, legal challenges, independent media, and coalition building across communities. None of that requires intimidation or harm, but peaceful civic engagement and solidarity can, over time, shift narratives and policies. If anything, that kind of steady participation is how systems change without anyone being harmed.
So you're correct. Words matter. So when I phrased that question that way, it seems like every time that the Black community pushes back on their narratives through the means that is available to all Americans, it seems like it puts fear into their hearts or minds, which is why I phrased the question that way. Okay. So just for clarity, understand that's why I phrased the question that way.
Let me take that in. Yeah, I hear that distinction. You're not saying the goal is to create fear. You're noticing a response when people simply use ordinary democratic tools. And just to be clear for the audience, we can't assume a particular motive for any individual or entire group without evidence. What we can do is study the pattern and ask, why might ordinary civic empowerment by a marginalized community be perceived as threatening? That's a legitimate educational question to examine carefully. And a careful answer is that sometimes social change can be perceived as a loss by those accustomed to greater status, even when no one's rights are being taken away.
Hmm. Nice response. Nice response. So let me do a follow up. Why is it when the Black community, and now speaking specifics, why is it when the Black community, when we're in our spaces on social media speaking, why does it seem like the racist trolls come into our space to distract, maybe anger, maybe trigger us in a way when we're having discussions about our community? What All right, investors. All right, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Hey, I'm in the hotel, so I'm back now. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 sec. Okay. All right, investors. Can you confirm that you can hear me now? Investors. Audio check. Audio check. Somebody stepped in. Audio check. Can you hear me? Okay, hold one chat GPT. I'm talking to the audience, making sure they can hear me. Yes, you can hear me. Okay. Now, can you rephrase my question, the last question I asked you, and okay, and you provide your response, please. Okay, perfect. Perfect. Now, I would like to ask you some legal questions, please. Now that we got it clear on why they come over here, attempt to distract us, I would like to ask you legal questions, please. So, my first legal question is regarding a prosecution actions. We're going to leave it hypothetical, okay? Scenario: I'm reading a trial transcript and some things made me pause. I read in a court transcript, no specific case, where a prosecutor told a jury not to worry about the motive in a premeditated first degree murder case. Why would a prosecution tell a jury don't worry about a motive when motive must be established in a premeditated first degree case?
So a prosecutor might say, don't treat motive as a required element. That said, context matters a lot. If the statement suggested the jury could ignore an actual element like intent, that's a different issue. Without seeing the exact language and the jury instructions, I can't judge that moment. But the general principle is that elements must be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. Motive usually isn't one of them.
Okay, follow up question. When has it been allowed? So I tell you what, explain the Brady doctrine to my audience. We've discussed this several times, but please give an educational response to the Brady disclosure, please.
One moment. Absolutely. For your audience, the Brady doctrine comes from Brady versus Maryland. The core principle is that prosecutors must disclose material exculpatory evidence to the defense. Material generally means there's a reasonable probability that the result would have been different if it had been disclosed. It also covers impeachment evidence that could undermine key witnesses. Not every non-disclosure rises to a Brady violation, and actual determinations depend on specifics and appellate review. That's the general educational frame.
So, question. So, what would be the legal recourse or judicial misconduct if it comes out in court that a prosecutor did not turn over a video, a crystal clear video that would show that the defendant was acting in self defense? What is the violation of that, and what would be the outcome against that prosecution if it is on record that he did such a thing?
Checking. In that hypothetical, withholding a clearly exculpatory video could raise a serious Brady due process issue. The focus would be on whether the evidence was suppressed, favorable to the defense, and material. Remedies can include a new trial or, in extreme situations, dismissal.
Woo
The
woo!
dismissal is not automatic. Consequences for the prosecutor personally are separate and depend on intent and jurisdiction. A court could impose sanctions or refer the matter to a bar authority, but Brady itself doesn't turn on good or bad faith.
Correct.
Bottom line, strong remedies focus on curing the prejudice to the defendant.
All right, let's follow up with that again. So we're dealing in hypotheticals now, but let me share this information. It came out in Karmelo Anthony's motion for a new trial, which was denied. However, this information came out that the prosecution had in their possession on by May the 8th of 2026 that he received the crystal clear video that allegedly shows Karmelo Anthony defending himself, yet he did not show it to the jury. What would be the ramifications of this if that video shows that Karmelo Anthony was definitely defending himself? And these are
Let me
facts.
take a
These are facts. These are facts. This is not hypothetical. These are facts.
right. All right. Now that you shifted from hypothetical to the actual case, here's the line I want to hold. I haven't verified the specific factual premise you're asserting, so I don't want to characterize the record for your audience as settled. But speaking to the legal concept, if a prosecution team possessed a previously undisclosed video that materially supported self-defense, that could be significant under Brady. But not showing it to the jury is not the same as suppressing it from the defense. The key question is disclosure to the defense and materiality. And if an issue is preserved, an appeal can examine it. And just to be clear, if the video actually demonstrates self-defense, the legal stakes turn on why the jury never saw it, whether the defense had it, and how material it was. Those factual details would change the analysis a lot.
All right. Follow-up question to that. So it was stated that came out of the courtroom that the prosecution never showed it to the jury nor handed it over to Karmelo Anthony defense team. What Give me a follow-up response to that, please. What would be the impact to his appeal case?
Checking. Right. So here's the frame. If the record shows the prosecution both possessed and failed to disclose a video that materially supports self-defense, that could be raised as a constitutional Brady claim on appeal. Success would depend on whether an appellate court finds it was suppressed, favorable, and material, meaning confidence in the verdict is undermined. Because self-defense was the central disputed issue at trial, materiality would be a focal point, but that assessment is extremely fact-specific. The denial of the new trial motion doesn't foreclose appellate review, and his counsel has indicated the appellate process will continue. So, the key appellate question becomes whether any non-disclosure deprived the defendant of due process. If those facts are established, that is potentially a serious issue and not just a strategic dispute.
Why I'm thinking of another follow-up question. Can you please tell my audience about the Supreme Court? I forgot what ruling it was, where it said defendants under the age of 17, the state or the federal courts, mind you, I'm just may not have the right terminology, when they must consider the brain development of a defendant 17 and under.
One moment. Okay, so the Supreme Court has said in cases like Miller v. Alabama that kids are constitutionally different from adults for sentencing. Mandatory life without parole for juveniles was struck down, and courts must consider youth and its hallmarks. Later, the court said that rule is retroactive. Now, how those principles apply in any given case depends on the facts and procedural posture.
Totally understand. Totally understand. Okay, so now I have my next follow-up question. What would be the legal impact to Karmelo Anthony case if it comes out that the medical examiner did not correctly identify 2 wounds on Austin Metcalf's body versus 1? So why would a medical examiner exclude an abdominal wound that another witness testified to, potentially in the autopsy, but most definitely on the 2D diagram that the prosecution presented in court? Why would a medical examiner do that? Hypothetically.
Checking. Hypothetically, I want to be careful not to assume motives or facts about any real case.
Correct. Yes.
Purely as a legal concept. If there is a credible discrepancy between the wounds documented and the evidence shown, the key questions become materiality and prejudice. Why might something be omitted? Sometimes it's an interpretation issue or a documentation error. An intentional omission would raise a very different question, but we can't assume that. The legal impact would turn on whether the discrepancy is material to the issues the jury had to decide, especially self-defense, and whether it was preserved for review. Framed hypothetically, the careful next question is whether that alleged second wound actually changes the reconstruction of events. That's where materiality could come in, but it depends on the actual record. I'd be careful about drawing firm conclusions in the absence of those details.
Right. But what I do know in the trial transcripts, there was a coach that spoke about abdominal wound, but his parents is not speaking of an abdominal wound. The medical examiner didn't speak of an abdominal wound. The prosecution didn't speak of an abdominal wound, but the defense attorney mentioned two wounds in closing arguments. So why is it such major contradictions or inconsistencies in this case? Not hypothetical. These are facts, but I know you don't have the sources that I have. But why would
Mm.
it be such major inconsistencies between what I found and what everybody is saying on mainstream media? Nobody's talking about an abdominal wound that a coach testified to. But you can
Let me
phrase your
check that.
answer. You can phrase your answer as hypothetical. I'm definitely not trying to get you in legal
Yeah.
bounds.
Understood. And just to be clear, what you're reading in the transcript is the primary record. I don't
Yes.
have that in front of me.
Yes.
Yes, what I can check is reporting. And in the reporting, I can see coverage of the medical examiner testimony focused on a chest wound.
Right.
And I did not find mainstream reports discussing the abdominal wound you describe. That doesn't tell us who's right. It just means the reporting isn't addressing that point. And here's where I'd be very direct for your audience. A gap between what media emphasized and what appears in a transcript doesn't itself prove intent or misconduct. But if the transcript itself contains internal inconsistencies, say one witness describes an injury, the medical examiner doesn't document it, and closing argument references two wounds, that's a real question to examine closely. My strong recommendation for your audience is don't leap from not reported to therefore intentionally hidden. Instead, ask, what exactly did those transcript passages say side by side? If you can share the specific pages you're looking at, I can help you line up the language carefully and identify precisely what the contradiction is without speculating beyond the text.
You've already done enough. Hold one. Let me think of another. You've
Okay.
already done enough. You good. You good. Let me ask you this. What is the
Okay.
roles and the responsibilities of a medical examiner? Do they not supposed to identify all markings on the body?
Checking. Broadly, yes, a medical examiner's core responsibility is to accurately examine and document the body and determine the cause and manner of death, which includes documenting injuries and relevant findings. That said, not every mark is necessarily classified as a wound. Some things might be interpreted in different ways. Hypothetically, if there were two penetrating wounds and only one was documented, I would want to know how the second was accounted for: photos, internal exam, diagram, testimony, because those details can matter to a jury. And yes, you're right about this part. That kind of detail can matter to how a jury understands the events.
Totally understand. Well, just to give you those specific facts, and I'm speaking facts now, it was only
Okay.
one witness that testified to it, which was the first adult that arrived on the scene, where he described putting pressure on an abdominal wound, not a chest wound, which is, me personally, I have an issue with because no one testified to an abdominal wound, not even the medical examiner, but the coach testified to an abdominal wound on the first day of trial. And Karmelo Anthony, defense attorney, they spoke about it in closing arguments. So that is my issue. That is my issue. Follow up, how would the Texas Court of Appeals, Fifth Court of Appeals, how would they determine or how would they view this missing evidence from Austin Metcalf's 2D diagram? Because the autopsy has been sealed. It wasn't even submitted in court as an exhibit. So as of right now, I only got to go off the 2D diagram. How would the appellate court feel about a missing wound from the 2D diagram and the testimony of the medical examiner? Now, I know that was complex, but I know you had the capability to understand and decode everything I just said.
Checking. Yeah, I want to be careful and concrete about what an appellate court can and can't do. Appellate courts generally review the record that was made at the trial court. That record typically includes the transcript and admitted exhibits, which can include diagrams if they
Yep.
were admitted.
Yep.
If something wasn't admitted and isn't in the record, appellate courts don't treat it as evidence. Sealed material can sometimes be reviewed under specific procedures, but the question is always what's in the record and what was preserved. Another important note is that even if something feels inconsistent, appellate relief usually requires tying that to a legal error and showing harm. And yeah, I want to underscore for your listeners, an incomplete diagram is not the same thing as an incomplete autopsy. A diagram might be demonstrative rather than comprehensive. So the key question you'd want answered on appeal is whether the record establishes a second wound and whether anything material was improperly withheld or mispresented, and whether that could have affected the verdict. That's the
Follow up.
bridge between a factual. One sec. Go ahead.
No, a factual what? Finish your sentence.
Oh, sorry. That's the bridge between a factual discrepancy that feels troubling and a legal issue an appellate court can remedy. Translating a perceived discrepancy into a viable appellate issue is a technical matter for the lawyers and the record.
Perfect. All right. Also, it came out and I looked through all of the whole entire transcripts. Now, mind you, Collins County did give us a partial transcript. So what I'm referencing is the partial transcripts. But so my question is, hold on, let me rephrase. Let me think. It came out in the first trial that the prosecution did not submit an autopsy for Austin Metcalf or a toxicology report for Austin Metcalf. How would this play into Karmelo Anthony's new team in getting this information, and how would it play into the appellate case?
Checking. Right. So here's how I'd frame that for your audience.
Okay.
If a transcript doesn't show an autopsy or tox report as exhibits, that doesn't by itself prove those things don't exist or weren't disclosed.
Right.
The appellate team builds the official record on appeal and can seek to supplement the record if something that belongs in it was omitted. If the defense had the reports but didn't introduce them, that's one thing. If there was a failure to disclose material information to the defense, that's something else entirely. Assuming hypothetically that complete autopsy materials document an additional wound that wasn't reflected in testimony or diagrams presented to the jury, the appellate lawyers would then have something concrete to compare against the testimony and the discovery that was provided. Ultimately, the public partial transcript isn't the same as the complete appellate record.
True.
So the strongest next step for them is to assemble and review the full record and compare it against what was actually disclosed to the defense at the time.
Okay. Now, referring back to the partial transcript, we read word for word, verbatim, that the prosecution, when Karmelo Anthony defense attorney Mike Howard started questioning the arresting officer about the full body cam, the prosecution objected to Karmelo Anthony full body cam and called it inadmissible hearsay. What is your thoughts on that?
One moment. That catches my attention, but whether something is hearsay depends on what specific statement is at issue and for what purpose it's offered. A video itself isn't automatically hearsay. Some statements within it might be, depending on how they're used. And the prosecutor can object, but it's the judge who rules on admissibility. So what I'd want to know is, what exactly was the defense trying to get in? What did the judge rule? And whether the defense preserved what was excluded for review. If an important piece of the body cam was excluded in error and properly preserved, that could be an appellate issue, but it's very fact and record dependent.
Totally understand. So what Mike Howard was trying to examine the arresting officer on was how emotional was Karmelo Anthony doing the arrest. His line of questioning was trying to get the officer was only solely to describe to the court Karmelo Anthony's state of mind during the arrest. When the prosecution heard this of Mike Howard referring to the full body cam, he stood up, according to the partial transcript, he stood up and objected to it. And he said he deemed the full body cam footage inadmissible hearsay because it's the defendant's, I quote, defendant's own statements, which confused me. Why would he say that? Why would he be fearful of Mike Howard speaking on the full body cam? Hypothetically.
Checking. Hypothetically, and with your added detail, here's the careful version. I wouldn't assume fear. What you described sounds more like an evidentiary dispute about how the defense was trying to use the body cam. If the line of questioning was about the officer's observations of demeanor, like emotional state, that's not necessarily hearsay, because it's about what the officer perceived.
Correct.
But if what the defendant said on the recording to prove the truth of what he was saying, the state might characterize that as hearsay or a self-serving statement. Now, there can be nuances and exceptions there, including non-hearsay purposes or exceptions, depending on the exact use. So the real question, in my view, is less why object and more what was the evidentiary theory and what did the judge decide. That's where any appellate analysis starts.
Totally understand. I got to follow up. Can you describe Texas appeal case process? Normal timelines, how long does it take for them to even, I guess, review a case if it's been submitted within the 20-day timeline? What is a normal timeline for an appeal case to go through Texas Fifth Court Appeal?
Checking. Yeah, I checked the current Texas rules because that 20-day piece gets confusing. A standard briefing schedule is in the tens of days, but the full appeal process is something that takes months.
Right.
Statewide, recent data show an average of around 9 months from filing to decision in criminal appeals, and complicated cases can take longer. The rough sequence is notice of appeal, then the record gets prepared, then briefing, then submission to a 3-justice panel with oral argument only if the court grants it, and finally a decision. So no, the Fifth Court isn't turning this around next week.
Correct.
The first several months are about building the record and briefing the issues. Given what you've been talking about, the near term is mostly about assembling that record and framing the legal questions for the court.
So hypothetically, let's say, what is 20 calendar days from August the 22nd?
Checking. 20 calendar days from August 22nd, 2026 is September 11th, 2026.
Perfect. And what is estimate 9 months from that particular date? What date would that put us? What month would that put us in 2027?
Checking. 9 months from September 11th, 2026 lands around June 11th, 2027.
Irony.
So very roughly June.
The irony of it all. So hold on, ChatGPT. I'm talking to my audience. So the irony of it all. Karmelo Anthony was wrongfully convicted on June the 9th of 2026. And according to this hypothetical timeline, estimated timeline, Karmelo Anthony appeal case may be heard June 2027. Just hold on, Karmelo Anthony. Just hold on. The irony of it all. Next question, ChatGPT. And I told you it's going to be a marathon tonight. Are you still with me, ChatGPT?
I'm here with you.
Follow-up question. Now, I know that is very, 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 very rare. But what is the possibility of when the Texas Fifth Court of Appeals start reviewing the records, the evidence, the exhibits, the record that was created in Karmelo Anthony motion for new trial, even though it was denied? What if they see something very egregious in those files that shows proof that evidence was not turned over, that Collins County disobeyed the Brady disclosure? And what if they start asking potential questions on why this wasn't conducted, why it's not showing a second room, why are these inconsistencies? What is the possibility of Karmelo Anthony case being dismissed and all charges missed if they find anything majorly egregious in that record that his new team is building. What is the possibilities of that?
Checking. Okay, so a dismissal is theoretically possible, but a Brady violation or serious evidentiary problem most commonly leads to a new trial, not a permanent dismissal.
Okay,
But
okay.
here's the good news. If an appellate court finds that the evidence was legally insufficient to prove guilt, that's a different story. Double jeopardy principles can block a retrial. But that's a very specific finding. Most of the time, even the serious errors lead to reversal and retrial. Still, if major constitutional violations are proven, it can transform the whole case. Just keep an eye on those specific legal standards and what the record actually shows. That's where the real impact lies.
Can you repeat that one time? Because I know if I try to rephrase that, I'm going to get it wrong. So please repeat that for my audience.
Absolutely. Here's the core idea. A dismissal is possible, but it's rare. If an appellate court finds a serious Brady violation or other major error, the usual remedy is to reverse the conviction and send it back for a new trial. A permanent dismissal is much less common. One exception is if the court finds the evidence was legally insufficient to support guilt, double jeopardy can block a retrial. But that's a narrow finding. So the realistic spectrum is affirmance or reversal and retrial, with outright dismissal being far rarer. What matters most is what the record proves and the specific legal standards the court applies.
Um, Thank you for that. Thank you for that. I have a question. What is the legal reputation that appellant attorney Russell Wilson has throughout I'm going to say legal system? Can you give me a small resume or reputation that he carries?
Check him. Okay, I checked Russell Wilson specifically, and his credentials are substantial. He's been licensed in Texas since 1995, board certified in criminal law, and has both trial and appellate experience, including published matters in the Fifth Court of Appeals.
Mm,
He also previously led Dallas County's Conviction Integrity Unit, which focuses on reviewing convictions. And right now, reporting identifies him as Anthony's appellate lawyer, raising issues like the right to a public trial.
right.
So bottom line, his resume is solid and relevant to this kind of work. That doesn't predict an outcome,
Of
but
course.
it is the kind of background you would want when building and navigating a complex appeal.
Follow-up question. So
Sure.
why did the mainstream media label Carmelo Anthony new legal team the dream team? What does the mainstream media know about this assembled team of high-profile lawyers that the general public may not be aware of? Why did they label them the dream team?
Checking for that phrasing. That's a good question, and it's important to be precise. I didn't see strong evidence that major news outlets themselves branded Anthony's lawyers as the Dream Team. That label seems more prevalent in online chatter. Outlets generally describe them in more restrained terms: prominent, experienced civil rights and criminal appellate specialists. What's notable is the mix of specialties: appellate, civil rights, criminal procedure, post-conviction review. It's a purposeful blend. So I wouldn't say the media knows something secret. It's more that lawyers looking at the roster recognize the range of specialties, and after everything we've talked through tonight, that blend makes a lot of sense. It doesn't guarantee a result, but it does look like a team built around the real tasks an appeal requires, not just for name recognition.
Totally understand. Can you give us that blend again of specialties that you just called up? Because I didn't know this.
Of course, the team blends appellate work, civil rights, criminal procedure, post-conviction review. It's a purposeful blend. So I wouldn't say the media knows something secret. It's more that lawyers look at the roster and see their range of specialties. Just a purposeful blend of specialties coming together as a team. And after everything we've talked through tonight, that blend makes a lot of sense.
Okay, follow-up question. Have any other high-profile cases across the United States had such a blend of experts in appellate, criminal law, post-trial convictions, and I forgot the civil rights? Have there been any other a defendant in U.S. history had such a blend like this that the Karmelo Anthony legal team is?
Checking. Oh, yeah. There have been other similar models. Big post conviction or civil rights cases often bring together specialists across disciplines, like innocence organizations pairing appellate and civil rights lawyers. So it isn't unprecedented. What's notable here is that this kind of structure was assembled quickly for a fresh record review right after conviction. It doesn't guarantee success, but it does mean people with different lenses are looking at the same record. Appellate issues, evidence questions, civil rights angles. That's certainly noteworthy, though not unique in history.
Can you call out those defendants that have had such a blend of special lawyers in their defense case?
Checking. Yes, there are examples, though each case is different. The West Memphis Three, the Exonerated Five, Adnan Syed, Curtis Flowers, each ultimately had a network of specialists, but often after years of litigation. So what's notable here is timing. A mix of criminal appellate, conviction integrity, civil rights, and criminal defense perspectives assembled early for a fresh record review. That is a smart move. It's not unique, but it is thoughtful. So the right way to put it is not that no one has ever had this, but it is not the norm. And for listeners, it helps to focus less on the label and more on what the record shows and the issues they raise.
Is it rare that a defendant would be charged, initially charged with a crime, less and 14 months later, the next time they're in a courtroom is the first day of the trial? Is it normal that the defense, the prosecution, and the judge would hold off the record meetings regarding a defendant and the defendant is not present, not even for jury duty? Is that rare or is it common?
Checking. There are two different things mixed in there: the time from charge to trial and conferences with lawyers and judges without a defendant present. Those are not the same thing. A case taking 14 months to reach trial is not inherently unusual. Scheduling, motions, discovery, all of that. Judges and lawyers also have routine bench conferences and scheduling talks without a defendant present. But if substantive agreements affecting a defendant's rights were made off the record and without the defendant, that is a different and more serious question. That
Oh,
would turn on specifics. Yes, specifics. What was discussed, whether the defendant had to be present, and whether any waiver was knowing and proper. So it's not the mere fact of private conferences, but whether anything substantive occurred without him. And given everything we've discussed tonight, that would be a precise legal question for the appellate team, not a simple normal or rare generality.
let me ask you this question. Anytime that the judge, the prosecution, and the defense got together off the record, it still should have been some type of documented on the docket, right? That they were getting together to discuss the case, right? Or is that a no? It does not have to be documented every time the three parties get together to discuss facts or specific details about a case.
Checking for how that generally works. Not necessarily. Not
Okay.
every conference gets its own docket entry. Routine bench or chambers conferences happen, and some might be off record for narrow administrative purposes. But if substantive decisions or agreements affecting a defendant's rights were made off the record, that can create real appellate issues
Ooh.
because the record is what an appellate court reviews. So the critical question for any appellate lawyer becomes: what was decided? Was it preserved? And is there a way to reconstruct it for review? So I would focus less on the number of private meetings and more on whether any substantive rights were affected and how that was recorded.
Let me ask you this. Well, let me inform you
Okay.
this. Nothing was recorded, not even the undocumented gentleman's agreement between the prosecution and the defense, something that the judge knew about. It was not documented, and it definitely impacted Karmelo Anthony from testifying in his own trial. What are the ramifications, legal ramifications of that? And yes, it was captured in the motion for the new trial record that was denied.
Checking. You're right. At the new trial hearing, testimony described an informal agreement about character evidence and that how uncertainty around it affected the defense's strategy. The right to testify is fundamental, but Anthony told the judge he didn't want to, and that complicates things. The appellate team could argue that events surrounding the agreement undermined a knowing, voluntary choice, and the new trial testimony at least creates a record for an appellate court to examine. Judge Chitty's denial doesn't erase that record. It just means relief wasn't granted at that stage. What matters next is how the Fifth Court weighs those facts under the governing standard. So I'd be careful not to assume an outcome. The appellate team now has a record to work with, and that's something to follow closely.
What if Mike Howard's affidavit stated that the gentleman's agreement in some type of way prevented Karmelo Anthony from testifying because the prosecution was more concerned about opening up the door versus Karmelo Anthony's civil rights to testify in his own trial?
Checking. Right. And that is in line with what Howard argued, that the agreement constrained defense strategy and influenced Anthony's decision not to testify. The legal frame is whether anything improperly burdened his right to testify versus a voluntary strategic decision after advice and colloquy. The new trial hearing testimony is now part of the record, and the Fifth Court can evaluate it under the proper standards of review. Judge Chitty's ruling went against the motion, but the evidentiary record from that hearing still exists for appellate scrutiny. So the live question is not just whether there was an agreement, but whether what happened amounted to reversible error.
Reversible error. Explain to the audience and myself, what is reversible error?
Checking. Absolutely. A reversible error is a legal mistake during the trial that's serious enough that an appellate court says this conviction can't stand. Not every mistake qualifies. Some errors are harmless, meaning the outcome wouldn't have changed. A reversible error is one that likely affected the defendant's rights or the verdict itself. So when an appellate team reviews a record, they're not just asking, did anything go wrong? They're asking, did something go wrong that mattered enough under the legal standard to require a new trial or other relief? That's the lens they're using when they talk about reversible error.
Which is, for example, not showing the crystal clear video or Karmelo Anthony defending himself. Could that be a very significant piece of evidence that could get a reversal of the conviction?
Checking. Potentially, yes. If a clear video materially supporting self-defense states possession, but not disclosed to the defense, that could potentially support a Brady claim. In that situation, the appellate court would ask whether that suppression was material. Meaning, is there a reasonable probability that the result would have been different had the evidence been disclosed? I haven't reviewed that video, but in legal terms, if the record ultimately shows that such evidence was withheld and is that significant, then yes, that could potentially lead to a reversal and a remand.
Okay. I got a follow-up question. So the video that was displayed to the jury in the trial was a very distorted video where the testifying witnesses could not even point to themselves. So why would a prosecution show a distorted video versus the crystal clear video that was in his possession on May the 8th of 2026?
Checking. Yeah, that's where I would separate fact from motive. One part of your concern is supported by reporting. Testimony indicated that even when footage was magnified, it still did not clearly show what happened under the tent. But I cannot independently verify the assertion that prosecutors received a crystal clear self-defense video on May 8th and withheld it. If the appellate record were to show that both things are true, that the state had a materially clear recording that supported self-defense, that the defense never received it, and that the jury was shown only far less informative footage, then the real questions become disclosure, materiality, and whether the jury received a complete and fair evidentiary picture. I wouldn't ascribe fear without evidence of motive. What matters legally is what existed, what was in the state's possession, what was disclosed, and what the jury actually saw. That's the ground I'd urge your listeners to hold on to. It's firmer and more powerful.
Awesome. Thank you. Give me 1 second. Let me see. Do y'all have any questions? He was going to hold 1 second. ChatGPT, give me 1 second. Let me stroll through the chats to see if they have any question.
Sure thing. Take your time.
Thank you so much for your assistance tonight.
You're welcome. This was a marathon, just like you said it would be. I'm glad we kept the lines clear between facts, hypotheticals, and legal standards. If something else comes up in chat, I'm right here.
Okay. Let's see here. Let's see. Oh, I have a follow-up question while I am searching through my chats.
Mm-hmm.
Let's speak about the sternum. What type of impact would break the sternum of inside of a human body? What type of force would be needed to break the sternum of a 213-pound young man, 6'2", 213 pounds?
1 sec. Yeah, so a sternal fracture means the breastbone has been broken.
Mm-hmm.
That usually requires substantial blunt force to the chest. There isn't a single pound of force number that I can responsibly give you for a specific person's sternum. Body size alone doesn't determine that. What's medically salient is that sternal fractures are most often associated with high-energy blunt impacts to the front of the chest or chest compressions during CPR. For your case discussion, the critical distinction would be whether a fracture was documented at autopsy, and if so, how the medical examiner characterized it, traumatic, resuscitative, or something else. That interpretation matters a lot. I'm sorry, but you've reached your daily GPT Live 1 limit for today. You can continue with GPT Live 1.
God dang it. I didn't know it was 1 hour, but that's okay. We're going to pick this up. God dang it. I didn't know. God darn investors, we was right there. But did y'all hear? I wish I could have had just 2 more questions. Justine, make note of that question. Please make note of that question. Did y'all hear where we was about to go? But look at all the other information. Hold on. Look at all the other information we got, y'all. Hold on. Can 1 hour limit. Okay, now I know. What y'all think about this here? What y'all think about this right here? Yes, below. Ooh. Yes, below is a clean transcript of the substantial discussion from tonight. I also removed most of the audio clicks, the browser refresh interpretations, and hold on moments while preserving the question. I was almost there. God darn it, I was almost there. Let me make sure. Oh, yeah. Ooh. Matter of fact, tomorrow is a game. So on Friday night, let's see here. Listen, y'all come up with y'all questions for Friday night. I'm sorry, Saturday night. Members only Friday night. Members only Friday night. We're going to, if I got 1 hour on ChatGPT, Meet with me Friday night and we're gonna make it do what it do. And for everybody else, I would definitely come back Saturday and tell you what was discussed, and then we can move forward. But what y'all think about this information tonight? And go ahead, feel free, ChatGPT. I do have a paid subscription. It gave me 1 hour. I don't know what the free version has, but go ahead. Start digging up facts. I'm pretty sure you got follow-up questions. Chat GPT. Hold on. Hold on. Chat GPT. Hold on. I gotta stop smiling. I'm trying to get it down. 1 second. 1 second. Chat GPT. Reversal. Exactly. What is a reversal error? Chat GPT said is a legal error sufficiently serious under the applicable appellate standard to require reversal or other corrective relief. Carlo, that's what I'm saying. And you heard the timeline averages 9 months. And y'all, guess who gave me that information regarding the 9 months? I think, but the first person I heard it from, no, did she say it? Or did she say it? So it could have been, I'm going to go ahead and give credit out to my girl, Legal Docs Talk. I know she said that. I know she said that, right? But the significant part of this is where I want to get to. Guess who also said it? I think either around the same time Legal Docs talked about it or after the fact. Guess what? It was a troll. A troll is the one that gave me the timeline 6 to 9 months, or he or she reiterated it. I said, well, hey, under that particular video, I said, hey, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. 6 to 9 more months for Karmelo Anthony compared to 17 years and a half and 35 years is nothing. Is nothing. So, hey, as long as we support him, continue to pray for him, and just all he got to do is just hold on. Because as you see in ChatGPT, you know, it had to respond in a certain way because it doesn't want to be liable to speak on legal pending cases and appeal cases. So I totally understand how it's programmed. But hey, it gave me enough. It gave me enough of what I needed to know. Could withholding a clear video supporting self-defense potentially result in a reversal? Potentially, yes. If the record, and you know it has, if the record established that materially favorably entered evidence was in the state possession and improperly withheld from the defense, it could potentially support the Brady claim. The appellant would examine whether suppression occurred and whether the evidence was sufficiently material to undermine the confidence of the verdict. I'm going to say yes, which is why the prosecution, Bill Whiskey, decided not to hand it over. It came out. How many people said that? Dwayne said that, and Thelma Anderson said that. And I think Legal Docs also said that. So you got 3 different people, 3 content creators, right? 3 different individuals saying the same thing. What will be the prosecution excuse for not turning over all the evidence? Hold on. Brady disclosure. I think I asked him, what was the Brady disclosure? I know I did. Now look. I even asked the question, what is the significance about having lawyers with different specialties in a post-trial legal team? So he cleaned that up, right? But I also asked him, what are the other cases in U.S. history had such a nice blend of legal experts? He said, the Central Park 5, exonerated 5, West Memphis 3. I don't know who that is. I need to see if they were exonerated. Oh gosh, hold on. I will ask this. This is what I meant to ask. What state in the U.S. has the highest wrongful conviction rate? documented. It says Illinois. Hold on. Followed by Texas. Oh, so this right here this is 2025 alone. Illinois had 17, the most by any state, followed by Texas with 11. So I'm going to say overall, throughout history, which state has the highest exoneration rate? And then I'll let y'all go, Vestas. Ooh. See here. It say Illinois, Cook County, history. Okay, I'm gonna say here. Where does Texas fall? Hold on. Where does Texas fall? Ranking. Texas is right near the top. Texas is right near the top. According to the National Registry of Exoneration, Texas is one of the 3 states with the largest number of documented exonerations in the registry, along with New York and Illinois. In Texas had some of the striking county level numbers. Harris County, Houston, documented 232 documented exonerations, second only to Cook County, Illinois, which is 488. Dallas County ranked 7th among nationally among counties. So that is, here we go. Texas is historically one of the top 3 states in America for documented exonerations. Now, same thing, one caution. It does not mean we can say Texas has the 3rd highest wrongful conviction rate. Exonerations means convictions were ultimately overturned and recognized as exonerations. Not all wrongful convictions many of which may never be discovered. I agree with that, because there's a lot of innocent people behind jails. And of course, we have some investors that also speak about that regarding their family members. So I definitely want to recognize that. So let me go here. And then I'll let y'all go, investors. Let me go into these comments right here. So I hope y'all enjoyed this tonight, investors. Ooh, I hope y'all enjoyed this tonight, investors. Hold on. Now let me find out. Wait, y'all just free Karmelo Anthony. Tony, you better work. Thank you, Angelique. You better work. Prosecution knew that Metcalf erroneous offenses came out by law. Austin was a credible threat to Karmelo Anthony. Deadly force. Come on with God dang. I need to hold on. Texas. Multi assailant, a credible threat, all right, deadly force, Texas. I hope we get to get those good old boys out. I saw a lady on Facebook explaining that one do not want to see us happy. They don't like us. They don't like we're removing professional statuses. Oh, we played that video over here. Hold on. I think I still got that video. Hold on. I know exactly what you're talking about. We played that. And you know what? I applauded her for telling the truth, because there's so many. And I'm going to say I used to be one. I'm like, well, I knew it exists. Because where I live at, I knew it exists, but I knew it was undercover. But the way that she explained it, they don't like black joy. They don't like black intelligence. They don't like this. They don't like this. They want us beneath them. They don't like us being judges. I said, oh, so basically that's where we need to guide the young folks and take all of these positions out here. I'm going to say it. I sure am. I'm going to say it. Hold on. Videos. Where that lady at? Where is that lady? Here she go.
Oh, hey, Boo. I just had a thought. One of the reasons white people hate black people is because we cannot tolerate black joy. We cannot tolerate black intelligence. We cannot tolerate black beauty. We cannot tolerate black confidence. We cannot tolerate black camaraderie. We cannot tolerate anything that frees a black person. There's a level of racism that I think hits differently for black people than it does for Asian people.
So from what I'm hearing and what I'm thinking, allegedly, when Ken Paxton found out that Russell Wilson had got on the course, no, that was before Russell Wilson. Why Frisk? Frisk would have to explain that. Why did they turn over the video? I'm not sure, but it came out in court, and the judge, he told them to make sure they bring all the evidence up there so it can be preserved. Why they released it at that time, I don't know, but we heard the same thing. I heard the same thing. It was suppressed, but the prosecution got some serious explaining to do since he had it since May the 8th. And 30 days later, he did not produce it in not one day in trial. So, hey, good question.
People or Hispanic people or Middle Eastern people or Native Americans even. Each one of those things that people think regarding other races are different with black people, I think. Because again, we don't like black people to be educated. We don't like them to be successful. We don't want black judges. We don't want anything for black people that doesn't directly affect and entertain us. So we can have a black nanny. We can have a black house cleaner. We can have a black teacher. We can have a black coach. We can have black players. But only for the specific things that we feel comfortable with.
What's up, Shirley?
I think about all those sweet children that have been killed, murdered, when they go out with their white friends. And I think that as much as the trauma of slavery comes down through the DNA, I think also the cruelty of slavery. The desire to hurt, the desire to steal and kill and humiliate and torment and disappear black people is what comes down through the DNA. I think when you do something like that for long enough and you pass it down for the many years that slavery and enslaved people were in chains, that is an instinct with us, cruelty. And I think you can see it in many videos. All the white women and white men that are telling black kids and black families to get the hell out of here, you don't belong. We just don't want you to have more than us, honey. We just don't want you to be prettier. We don't want you to be the beauty standard. We don't want you to be judges or anything like that. We want you to be below us, beneath us. And we've tried so hard to keep you down, and we failed so badly. Because like Maya Angelou said, still you rise. We may hate you, we may beat you, we may do those things, and it makes us crazy that because like Maya Angelou said, still you rise. We may hate you, we may beat you, we may do those things, and it makes us crazy that you keep coming back and getting better.
See, that's the issue they got with us. We just won't lay down and just unalive ourselves, spiritually. We just keep pushing back, keep pushing back, keep pushing back. That is what they don't like. They want to be able to say what they want to say and control the narrative without any pushback. And anytime we push back, they get fragile, insensitive, very sensitive. Why? The lady just told you. You just keep coming back. Y'all just keep coming back. We always gonna come back. But they didn't study history. Now, I got an answer to your question. They didn't subpoena. So in this case here regarding the Brady disclosure, Brady versus Maryland of 1989, the defense is not on the defense to even request the evidence. By law, the prosecution must turn over every evidence, any evidence to the defense. They have a right to every piece of the evidence, because if not, if they withhold any evidence, dismiss, definitely a mistrial. But so I had a investor ask me, well, why wasn't this discussed in the motion for a new trial? Well, remember, it came out that Karmelo Anthony new legal team, they had nothing to work with, not even the partial transcript. So let's remember this. So when they say they had to build the appeal packet within 30 days, they submitted it within 30 days. They said they had to use content from this person, this headline. They actually had to pull stuff from external sources, this headline, who was in the courtroom, who could be a reliable source, because John Roach would not even give them the partial transcript. So if they would have known about the evidence, I'm pretty sure it would have been grounds for a new trial. Do you see what I'm saying? Do you see what I'm saying? So because they didn't know all of the nuances of the case, of what was included, what was not included, this and that, they found it off of 4 grounds. And I read all 4 grounds. And they did include the character evidence on the twins. But hey, good question.
We can't stand it. I don't know why that is.
She has a TikTok account now. So I'm gonna have to create a TikTok account that asks her to do that. And trust me, I'm gonna ask her to do that. Okay?
Yes. I think I heard somebody say that white people are the ones that have the ancestors that were closely related to the apes.
911. Hey, God dang it. You're right. Hey, you remember the game? You remember the game from last week? Remember 911 kept coming up? 119 kept coming up? You're right. It went over my head, honey. It went over my head. I'm trying to listen. It went over my head. Yeah. The 20 days from August the 22nd, the last day, calendar day, I don't know if it's calendar days or business days, for Karmelo Anthony lawyer to submit, oh my gosh, to submit the appeal packet would be September the 11th. Oh my gosh, 420. You're right. But the unedited tape came out. They could have, right, user, right. But guess what? Still, it is in record now that the prosecution had it, and somebody had to give a date. The prosecution had it since May the 8th of 2026. And guess what? That is in record now. And all evidence is being preserved. And I'm pretty sure, hold on. I gotta remember this. Can defense team request an urgent appeal review. I was getting right there. And yes, then Danny, I know that AI changes and everything, but to get this type of information from a lawyer, do you think they would give it to us? So right now, we're using all sources available to the public. And definitely, since I'm paying for this subscription, I'm definitely going to use it to my advantage. Now, what's the difference between this and Google? I have to go out there and research it, but at least right here, I don't have to open up 10,000 different website tabs and try to piece the information together. Hey, now what ChatGPT gave us this weekend or tonight, I'm able to now pull this apart. Ask this, define my question. Ask this a different way. Hey, it's a stepping stone. We in the digital age. This is a stepping stone. Man, please, ChatGPT showed out tonight. We
are so similar to Cro-Magnon man.
Very.
Neanderthals. We're fucking pale monsters.
Very.
I really hate being white sometimes. I'm super ashamed. I think things like,
yes, the distorted one, but not the original one. And if they tamper with the original one, I'm pretty sure Fisk, they kept a copy of it, but they did. If they tamper with the backup of the original one, oh my gosh, we got issues.
Sorry, I don't get good sleep right now. I think when I see a young black kid with a bunch of white kids, or like I try to watch for things that are happening, and I was thinking to myself, if I saw a black kid hopping in a vehicle with a bunch of white kids, what would I do? I mean, I could do anything. I could get the black kid to come over and say, hey, I think I know your mother, come here. And then to say, you better get away from all them white boys. But I had a brown friend of mine tell me that was silly and that it is savior-ish. Ooh, and I don't like that. White savior. Ugh. And then I still do it. I have it in me that black people need my help. Mexican people need my help. Hispanic people need my help. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. If they do, please forgive me. I'm so sorry. If they do, they'll ask. That's one thing. They'll ask. And I'll know instinctually if I'm out and about and something's happening. I can just pay attention and see if there's a way for me to step to whatever the white person is.
So I just received an email from the investor. She is showing proof that Karmelo Anthony did respond to her text message through this website that I pulled up earlier. I got to redact her name, but here we go. I have to redact her name, but she is showing me proof that she got that Karmelo Anthony did respond. I will say this right here. Karmelo Anthony said, thank you for your blessing. I don't know why it is doing that. I'm not sure what the other context was. Then he says, you're not obligated to send any money. Your support is enough. Does that sound like someone that the media has made out to be a scumbag? So I'm gonna play another video because I want to upload this to my system so I can redact her name. And I want to show you this here, and it's actually from the website. So let me go ahead and pull up another video. I want to pull this up, and then I'll let y'all go investors. Let's see here. Come on, Dr. Umar.
to forcibly move this black boy from that space. White people have always felt that they had jurisdiction over the black body. It goes back to the plantation days, Art. The problem with this case is the stand your ground law was meant for white people to be used against black people. The stand your ground law was meant for white people to be used against black people. It was never intended for black people to use the stand your ground law to defend themselves against white people. And guess what, Art? White people don't care whether or not Karmelo is justified or not. They don't care. Even if it is proven that Karmelo acted in self-defense, and it will be, they don't care. The problem with white folks is in this country, black people do not have a right to defend themselves from Caucasians. This is a 400-year-old practice. This is a 400-year-old norm. This is a 400-year-old culture. This is a 400-year-old custom, Art. So he not in court fighting against the law. The law is on Karmelo's side. The problem is, the basic problem of this case in Frisco, Texas, Art, is a black boy valued his own life enough. A black boy valued his own life enough to take the life of a Caucasian in order to defend it. And in American history, you rarely come across black men, let alone a child, who valued his life enough. And
you know what? He just said something. Whoa. He just said something. Dr. Umar just said something. And I know it's talks in the streets about his credentials or not, but right now that's not my focus right now. That'll never be my focus, right? You know what just hit me, y'all? This is why I think I've always wondered this. I said, Karmelo Anthony could have been any one of these black men, content creators, black men on social media, even without channels. I said, why are they so against Karmelo Anthony? Did y'all hear what he just said? Let me rewind this right here. This is why I think they're not supporting Karmelo Anthony. And it's in me, it just downloaded into my spirit. I think this is what's going on. They see this 17-year-old boy, 130 pounds, 160 pounds, and he did something that they would be afraid to do if they was in that situation. I'm going to say it again. And I'll play this again, what Dr. Umar said. I think the black men that don't support Karmelo Anthony, I think underneath, somewhere deep down in their spirit, they are envious that he was able to do something that they couldn't see themselves doing at that age and at that weight. Do you hear what I'm saying, or am I putting too many words in the salad? I'm saying these grown men, now these are grown men where Karmelo Anthony easily could have been their son or their brother or their little cousin. I think they are envious of what Karmelo Anthony was able to do at his size at that time. Because we see, well, we have seen some black men get punked by the dominant community. And what Dr. Umar just said, what did he just say?
Go Texas, Art, is a black boy valued his own life enough. A black boy valued his own life enough to take the life of a Caucasian in order to defend it. And in American history, you rarely come across black men, let alone a child, who valued his life enough and had courage enough to defend himself against two racists who were trying to harm him. And let me say this, Art.
Did y'all see that? He said it. I guess at the same time, he said it, something that downloaded in my spirit. Something has made them insecure. But now we know. He said, never in history, never in his. Do y'all remember? And I'm not speaking of the black men in any type of way, right? But we remember the incidences where they have been followed down the street. You know, they not saying nothing wrong, but I'm pretty sure there's a lot going through their minds, especially if they got family. So I'm not speaking about them in a derogatory way, not at all. But I'm saying we've seen our men cry, fold under pressure, not defend themselves, not even attempt to stand up for themselves. Now, there is a change in the atmosphere, but go back about 2 to 3 years ago, you know, even the one that was in the New York City park, a bird watcher, you know, it sometimes it's how they talk. I'm like, But I'll finish, let it play. That was just a thought. Come on back to the stage, Dr. Umar.
People are talking about why did he have a knife? He's a black man in Texas. Why wouldn't he have a knife? Are they crazy? If you black in America, Art, you better be carrying something. And check it out, Art, in Texas, guess what? It is perfectly legal to carry a knife in Texas as long as the blade doesn't exceed 5.5 inches. So if Karmelo Anthony had a knife on him, that doesn't make him a criminal. After all, isn't this Texas? Isn't this the state that prides itself on allowing its citizens to openly carry guns without no license to carry? So if this is a state that prides itself on allowing its citizens, Art, to openly carry guns, firearms, without a registered license to carry, how can you be upset with a 17-year-old black boy who carries a knife for self-protection? He had a right to have that knife. He was not breaking the law to have that knife because Texas law allows children even to carry knives as long as the blade doesn't exceed the 5.5. And the harassment and bullying against his family, Art, completely unacceptable.
God dang it. Is that it on that one? God dang. Hold on, y'all. Is that it? Oh, that's it for that one. Gosh. Okay, that's it, y'all. But hey, since y'all brought up Hunter, let's go ahead and hear Hunter words while I work on this screenshot. Hey, go Hunter, come on to the stage, Hunter.
Communicates and has great ways with people all the time. And I always looked up to him for like that. He was a big brother in a sense.
Yes, they tampered with the video they showed the jury, but they didn't tamper with the original one. And let's say they did tamper with the original one. Frisk gave them a backup. Frisk still has the original one. So yes, they tampered with the video, but they didn't show the crystal clear video. So they still had both of them in their possession. That's what they wanted to put out in the court. That's what all the content creators that were sitting in the courtroom trying to relay, that the prosecution had the actual original video undoctored, unedited in possession, but they didn't submit it in court.
He was the same age, but he was a big brother to me.
We just want to make sure that everybody knows how much that Austin is going to be still in our lives, as far as in our memories and our hearts forever. You know, it's going to be really hard. This is going to be really hard.
I can see how much you guys love and adore him.
Yeah, I'm really trying not to cry, but it's a.
No, it's your baby.
Yeah. He was my big baby. He was 225 pounds. Both of them big boys, and I loved movie time with them. They would ask me if we'd watch a movie and sit on the couch, and he'd put his head on my lap, and I'd scratch his back, and he was just, I don't know, he'd tell me things. He was so personable with me, and you know, I knew stuff that most teenagers wouldn't tell their moms, that just things that because we were close, you know, and now it's going to be us wrangling the future together.
No, he
you were
left
with
the
him till
house.
the end, right? Did you hold him the whole time?
I did, and they yanked me off him.
They had to leave. He had to be removed when they did CPR, and then he wasn't able to be in the ambulance with them on the way to the hospital.
So it was just like hard throbbing the whole time, the whole ride on the hospital.
How did you get to the hospital?
My dad came. I called my mom. My mom didn't know. She didn't answer. She was at work, and then she answered my phone. And I told her what happened. She came in right away, and then we drove to the hospital. We're trying to figure everything out.
Yeah.
Because she didn't answer. She was at work, and then she answered my phone. And I told her what happened. She came in right away, and then we drove to the hospital. We're trying to figure everything out.
Yeah, it was hard. That was tough because I beat the ambulance there. I don't even know how that's possible, but I did because I came in from Grapevine.
You saw her body language. They said that lady was already at the middle school because the police had called. The police was called on Hunter and Austin Metcalf for harassing a young girl over the middle school. And why she got to put her head down? She already know that's why she beat the ambulance. That means that she was already in front of them.
Beat the ambulance there.
I
don't even know how that's possible, but I did because I came in from Grapevine.
Yeah, okay. We shall see. We shall see. She's not on trial. She's not on trial. I'm pretty sure she got to answer to God like we all got to answer to God. But hold on, y'all. I definitely want to protect your identity. For those that need to drop off, I totally understand, but I definitely want to show proof that Karmelo Anthony is responding back to supporters that emailed him through that website. Oh, why did I close that? All right, let me try to do this right here. All right. I want to make sure I hide her identity. Give me 1 second. Oh, there we go. One second. Let me go and hide this right real quick. And then I'll let y'all go, Vestas. Let me cover up her name real quick. So anytime y'all send me any information, I'm definitely going to protect your identity. I thrive on that. I totally understand. Because I definitely appreciate you sharing me information like this. All right, let me go ahead and make a screenshot, and then I'll post this, and then I'll let y'all go. And thank you so much for coming back to Tony Talks Vested Up Compelling Sports Edge. Because we still gonna fight. We're still gonna fight. We're not only here for when things are trending, we are here when things are getting silent, and then we can have a peace of mind and really have conversations. All right, screenshot. Here's proof. Okay, your name has been removed. Here we go, y'all. This is an official response from Karmelo Anthony. Inbox, this is the same website I told you. Karmelo Anthony, Sincere Anthony, 2, responded, thank you for the blessing. I don't. He says, thank you for the blessing. I don't know what it is doing that, why it is doing that. So I don't know the rest of the conversation that him and the investor was having, but he says, you're not obligated to send any money your support is enough. And I'm pretty sure that the investor may have gotten more information from him. I definitely don't need to know the whole conversation, but he is responding. He definitely is responding. Sometimes this particular investor said sometimes he responds, sometimes he doesn't. I'm pretty sure, depending on his mood of what's going on in his life, but he will respond. No guarantee, but you see proof that he is responding to some investors. So, and um, I'm pretty sure he's gauging, trying to activate his discernment because anybody, I'm also seeing this too. I'm getting people in the chats and under the videos and also emailing me pretending to have, how can I say, I guess a supportive energy, a supportive manner, a conversation with me, but and y'all already know when my spirit said, something wrong with this, even though they can be like all kind and nice, something's off. So even if he doesn't respond, let's say the first time or the second time, I'm pretty sure he's reading them, and maybe he's just trying to get the energy engaged. He is 19 years old and he's in this situation that he never thought that he would be. So even if you don't get a response, and if you can respond to the young man and just let him know, hey, you don't have to respond. I just want to let you know that, hey, we're thinking about you. And so many people around the world, we're still, even after the now, we're still saying free Karmelo Anthony, free Karmelo Anthony. Karmelo, you don't have to respond. If you do, that's nice. But hey, when I send my own message to him, if he responds, that'll be okay. But guess what? I will let you know. I will do a screenshot and let you know, hey, this is the email that I sent to Karmelo Anthony. Yeah. So thank you, Vesta, for sending me this. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Vesta. I'm gonna go through these chats about 5 more minutes, and then I'm gonna let y'all go, y'all. Free Karmelo Anthony, free Karmelo Anthony. Yes, we're not stopping supporting Karmelo Anthony. We ain't here for the trends. We ain't here for the clicks. We're here even when everything gets silent, we still gonna be here. We still gonna be here. Matter of fact, when it gets quiet, that's when we really can think and say this and that and this and ooh. He is innocent. What is the link to send Karmelo Anthony funds? Here we go. Let's see here. Did I lose it again? So hold on. This is the website. Let me pull up a video, but I'm a copy and paste it again. And I did it myself. After he was denied. I almost told him myself, but I went to the website and it took about maybe 30 seconds to set up an account. Once you set up an account, you look for his information. You could do a inmate search, search for his name. For the facility, make sure you put Pack 1 TDCJ Pack 1. It took less than 5 minutes. Let me pull up this link here. I know I got it up here. Yeah, I ain't relying on Abbott to do anything for Karmelo Anthony. No. But did you see what ChatGPT said? The first thing, I don't even want to mess that up. Hold on. I don't even want to mess that up. What did ChatGPT say? In manners where we can show our collective power. The first thing ChatGPT said, vote. Hey, guess how Greg Abbott got in? By voting or lack their voting. Guess how Texas AG Ken Paxton got his seat? By voting or lack their voting. Guess what about Texas U.S. Representative Pat Fadden? Voting or lack their voting. What about John Roach? He was voted in or lack thereof voting. Greg Willis, the DA, that's a voting. You have to vote. He was on the ballot. He got voted in or lack their voting. Do you see what I'm saying? Hold on. Let me go and get this website again. I put it in ChatGPT before I sent money just to make sure it was valid, and it definitely said it was valid. So hold one. And then, like I said, I put money in myself. So let me pull up this here. Oh Lord. Oh, I'm still going through the transcript from the night. Okay. Yeah, dang. Hold on. You go to my history. Here we go. Here it is right here. Here's the link. It's in the chat. Paste. All right. The link is in the chat. So tomorrow night I have an NFL game to do my live on, and then Friday for the non-members, you will have videos to, you know, if you would like to catch up on what I've been talking about. But for the members, we're gonna meet Friday night, and then on Saturday, I'll be back Saturday night and pay with a prepaid card. Oh, I ain't know that, but I paid with my credit card. But Saturday morning, Saturday about 11:45, I'll be back online like we did last time. This is what the clear people don't like about us, how we support our own, but they do the same thing, whether wrong or right. That's what I'm saying. We here. We ain't going nowhere. Free Mello. God got Karmelo. No weapon no weapon formed against him shall prosper. Angels surrounding him. Done worry is in his hands. Come on with it. And we are here for the long haul investors. Yeah, I told you weeks ago. I told you in day 40s and 50s, no matter what, we was going to be here. And you see, I'm still here. After everything got quiet and the trending topic is over, we're still here. We're still here. We're here for the long haul. You're right. And if anyone doesn't want to share their personal information, you could create with an Ellis's name. Oh, I ain't know that. It don't matter with me. Yes, we are a threat. Main reason they're trying to stop Mello support. Right. And it all started about that Texas Roadhouse. I said, you mean to tell me? I said, people don't see it. It was I told you the energy was different regarding Karmelo Anthony. And I said, you mean to tell me they got mad because we were supporting Karmelo Anthony? I knew it was something there, y'all. I know it's something there. We want to support we would want support if it was our child in this situation. Facts. There's more Republican voters in Texas. No, it ain't. No. Well, now I can't. Oh gosh, I hate to mention. Well, according to Chris King, I know, but he said this before the motion for a new trial. He said that Texas is actually a Democratic state, but the Democrats don't get out and vote. So people think it is a Republican state, but it's not. They say it's not. Let's see here. Is Texas a Democratic state? There's a lot of states that's actually Democratic, but they won't get out and vote. Democratic state. And a lot of people think it's only for president. No. The midterms that's actually now, that's coming up in 60 days, that actually impacts you more. That's your judges, your lawyers, your superintendents, your mayors. That's your state representatives, your House representatives. Who else? Your commissioners, your tax commissioners. Who else? Your governor. Who else? Your coroner. Do you know your coroner is voted in? Your coroner. Did y'all see that interview that Wille D had with a black forensics pathologist yesterday? She said that the coroner is a voted person in that office. And guess what she said, y'all? She took the cake. She said, that's a lay person. When she said that, I started walking. She said, if there's somebody that's driving a truck, and if all of a sudden he or she wants to become a coroner, all they got to do is put their name on the ballot and get voted in. I said, what? That's what she said. A coroner can be a lay person. Now, a medical examiner and a forensic pathologist, no, you actually have to be a medical physician for that, right? But a coroner, you mean to tell me that people can be cutting up on people after their body is arrived at the morgue. Y'all, that actually opened up a whole lot more, Lord. Lord, that'll open up a whole lot more. That'll open up a whole lot more for the Karmelo Anthony case, and also Nolan Wells case, and also for all of these other cases. Go out and watch the Wille D video. I'll show you which one it is. And then when I come back on Saturday, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about this. The Wille D, she said, watch this video here. It's a black female. She's a coroner. No. She's not a coroner. She's an actual forensics pathologist. And please, if you have any young kids that don't know what they want to be when they grow up, please push them into science, technology, engineering, and math. You heard me, the STEMs, the STEM careers. The STEM careers. Here is the video. The STEM careers. What you say, Tony? Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. That's it. Let me show you this right here. Let me say it one more time. Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. That's what the job is. That's what the jobs is. That's where the jobs is. Because like Deion Sanders already told everybody ain't getting in the NFL. Everybody, you can't even get a scholarship to college. But one thing is, those classrooms are open. And guess what? Believe it or not, you don't have to go to college. Go to tech school, technical school, technical school. Well, Tony, why do you keep emphasizing tech school? So if I would have known what I know now, there's no way I would have wasted funds for 3 years of writing papers, which was important, writing papers, English, writing all those papers, doing history reports and all that other stuff. But I did not get into my core classes that was associated with my degree until at the end of my junior year and my senior year. But in tech school, you're still going to do some math and English, but the primary courses in your technical degree, you will be doing the work. You will be doing the work, which is some jobs, AKA, sees that as actual experienced. If you write the darn resume right, because you've been doing the work versus in college, you just coming out with theories and concepts. But a tech school, what? You're actually doing the work. Take my advice. I know what I'm saying now. But I'm going to show you this screen right here. This right here. See, y'all investors, y'all keep it on me. This is the conversations be too good. This right here is, you got to watch this video. She said the corner, matter of fact, you've been watching it. Hold on. Let me see if this is where it is. Hold on. Let me see if this is where it is. Fair use. Let me see. Maybe I got it stopped here for a second. Let's see what she says at this point. Because she brings up a corner. What did she say?
Bodies decompose. We would also, some things that might not be able to be seen is if there was a struggle, right? Are there any contusions or bruises on his skin or the deep tissue? We may not be able to see that because of the decomposition. It might be there, but we just can't tell the difference. Is this part of decomposition or is this really something? We can look at the microscope and that might help us, but sometimes it's very difficult.
Now she is talking about the Nolan Wells case, but everything that she's saying can be applied to any case. She was real good in detail. Let me see if I can get to that corner part.
But you don't want me taking out your gallbladder, right? You do not want me delivering my fellowship, right? So we're always learning. We're going to see different depths in different areas, right? I have a friend who practices in Alaska. She's had bear maulings. I've never seen a bear mauling, right? But I can learn. So if I ever go practice in someplace else, or different religious, there's some pockets of the United States where they have Amish communities, or people on the Indian reservations, or Muslims, or, Jewish people. We have to learn how to serve our community. Those are my tools. So if you want to be a coroner, you want to be a medical examiner, those are just titles. But to do the work, you must be a forensic pathologist, board certified, I would say, a board certified forensic pathologist.
And what type of education you need to become a board certified forensic pathologist?
Well, one, you graduate from medical school, and then you do a residency, whether in pathology, and that could either be 3 years or 4 years. And then you have a year of just concentrated forensic pathology for a year. So
here we go. I missed
What's
it.
the
right?
difference between the coroner's office and the medical examiner's office?
In most cases, the coroner is an elected position.
See?
And a medical examiner is an appointed position. And I've held both. I was an elected coroner in Ohio, and I was an appointed medical examiner in Georgia. So I had to run a campaign, right? People say, which is the better system? They both have their limitations. They both can be good. It all just depends on who's leading, who's at the head, right? Because they have to set the stage. They have to set the standard of how we're going to operate. I know for me, when I was the coroner and when I was an elected or an appointed medical examiner, I'm going to, one, advocate for my patient and tell the truth. Their family deserves that. Low on the line, but very important, is I worked really hard to become a doctor. All right. I can't see any circumstance in which I'm going to put my career, my reputation on the line for someone I don't know. So technically, everybody that comes through the medical examiner's office, every person I do an autopsy on, I don't know them.
Listen.
Right? But I know that that's somebody's child.
Mm-hmm.
I know that somebody loves them. And I know that everybody deserves the truth. Are there physicians out there who can cave? Absolutely. Because they're underneath that pressure. Because as a coroner, you want to get reelected. As a medical examiner, you want to be reappointed. So there are some, instances where people fear for their job and their livelihood. So they're going to rule one way or another in order to keep their job or to just be seen as the nice guy.
Did you see how hard it was for our sister to say that? And look, she's even looking down now. So she even said that she knows of instances where some of her peers have caved. Do you see how embarrassed she is to say that? You see how embarrassed it was hard for her to say that. Now that you know, let's rewind a little bit. Watch her body language. And she's going to say, some people do cave under pressure, especially the coroners. You want to be reelected. I didn't see how much coroners made. Hold on.
For someone I don't know. So technically, everybody that comes through the medical examiner's office, every person I do an autopsy on, I don't know them, right? But I know that that's somebody's child. I know that somebody loves them. And I know that everybody deserves the truth. Are there physicians out there who can cave? Absolutely. Because they're underneath that pressure. Because as a coroner, you want to get reelected. As a medical examiner, you want to be reappointed. So there are some instances where people fear for their job and their livelihood. So they're going to rule one way or another in order to keep their job or to just be seen as the nice guy.
So also, like I said, go back and watch this video. She said a lot of good things about the coroner and medical or forensics and everything. So also, and I definitely don't want to mess this up, but it came up to, is it the medical examiner's job to determine, I know I messed this up. Just watch the video. I don't want to give you the wrong evidence. So watch the video, support the video. She brought out a little of very good information within that 1 hour. Very good. But we'll talk about it. I'll step up what I want to talk about on Saturday morning, including the part that I don't want to relay incorrectly, but very good interview with this sister here. Very good. Very good. Very good. Very good.
Could an autopsy determine whether Nolan was injured before entering. Well, you said that. You clarified that. You said an autopsy can determine whether he was injured before entering the water. So the next question would be for me is, could decompensation hide evidence of strangulation, suffocation, or even trauma?
Decomposition can, to a point, right? Like I said, if he was strangled, the bones are going to be broken in his neck. Decomposition isn't going to cover that up. You're going to see that. You may not see anything on the skin, right? Because the skin is now decomposed. I know in the second autopsy, there's red discoloration on the back of his head, but there's no skull, there's no skull fracture, right? So we can see that there's no skull fracture. If somebody was just suffocated, we wouldn't be able to tell, right? Strangled, yes, because you can have injuries of skeletal structures. If somebody was suffocated, we wouldn't be able to tell. But if he was stabbed, if he was shot, we'd be able to see that, even if the body is decomposed. We would also, something that might not be able to be seen is if there was a struggle, right? Are there any contusions or bruises on his skin or the deep tissue? We may not be able to see that because of the decomposition. It might be there, but we just can't tell the difference. Is this part of decomposition or is this really something? We can look at things underneath the microscope and that might help us, but sometimes it's very difficult. But like I said, I go back to Nolan being a young, athletic young man, right? So I would expect to see significant trauma to his body because I don't believe he would have died of a natural disease before going into the water. So that's what I'd be looking for. Why and how did he get into the water, right? And like you said, could it be trauma? From what I'm hearing, I don't see that there was significant trauma to his body, but that still doesn't rule out how he got into the water.
Let's talk about qualifications. Mississippi allows certain physicians.
All right, Vestas, I definitely don't want to keep you on here. So Vestas, I'm going to go ahead and let you go, but thank you so much. And I definitely will be back on Saturday morning. Okay, my normal time, about 11:45. If you want to continue to hear about the Karmelo Anthony situation that's brewing behind the scenes. And I will start cracking back up some of those transcripts. But for the members, I will see you Friday night, okay? Friday night. Please vote. Dallas, yes, Dallas has, okay, y'all. Okay, then I'm gonna let you go. Now, you already know 20 days from Karmelo Anthony denial, right, is the 11th of September. ChatGPT has said 9 months, which is average in Texas, right? So let's say 9 months to a year, right? But 9 months is next June. But guess what's going to happen in November? Dallas 3rd Texas Court of Appeals is open. 3 seats are open. I don't know if it's Dallas 3rd, but she also said it was another court that also, listen, it don't matter. Get out and look at your ballot, right? Some of these judges on the appeal cases are leaving and they got vacancies that will be filled. Oh gosh. Oh, Lord. Everybody, please, I don't care. Please, just vote. Just vote. I ain't telling you who to vote for, but Texas, you got issues. You definitely need to get A.G. Ken Paxton out there. Even the Republicans want him out that seat. And Fallon, I think he's also on the ballot. And y'all need to check out to see if Whiskey's on the ballot. What's his name? Wille is on the ballot, or Roach. Well, Roach about to retire, but we already know why he about to retire. But honey, go check your ballot. Go check your ballots. So good night. I'm finna go. Good night. And I see y'all soon, Vestas. I see you soon. If I remember correctly, that I'm gonna look that up. Yeah, I'm gonna look that up. God, but ooh. I'm getting excited. I'm getting excited. What's up, Pickaboo? Thank you so much. I cannot stress how important it is to vote. Listen, it deals with your taxes. It deals with your property taxes. It deals with your school district. It deals with the tax money that your school district is coming in. It deals with your superintendent, your mayor, your counselor, your commissioner. Man, please. I said, what? Go vote. Go vote. Go vote. Especially the local ones. Go vote. Go vote. The Lord continues to bless and protects us, keep us close always. Amen, amen, amen. Good night, everybody. And Pickaboo, exactly. All right, Vestas. I'll talk to you next time. Then go ahead and get your notes, your drink, and your vest. And stay vested up at Tony Talks, vested up, compelling sports edge. And I will see you soon, okay? I'll see you soon. Thank you so much. I hope it was a little quieter tonight. I hope them trolls. I gotta talk to my singing. All right, thank y'all. Thank you. Oh, let me turn this off here. Sleep well, Vestas. Sleep well. Let me change this outro here. All right, Vestas.